Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be fixing the position of one of my wiper arms on the Audi S5. It was incorrectly installed whenever I had my windshield replaced, and so I'm going to be fixing that today, as well as putting a new wiper cap on that's missing. So let's get started. So this is the passenger side wiper arm, and as you can tell, this is kind of sticking up above the line of sight for the hood. And so we're going to be adjusting this down to spec so that it's not as visible from inside the cab. So this is what I'm seeing from inside the car. This is the actual driver's side right here. That's the driver's side wiper, which is not showing above the hood line. But if I go to the passenger side, then we can clearly see that it's sticking up above the line of sight there of the hood. And so I'm going to be adjusting it down to spec to where that should not be showing as much. Here are some tools that you'll need for the job. We have a measuring tape here to be able to measure from the top of the wiper blade to the bottom of the windshield. There are some proper distances that Audi gives, so I'll provide those specs later. Then we have a pry tool that we'll need to remove the cap from the wiper arm to reveal the bolt and nut. And for that nut, we will need a 13mm socket to remove it. To remove the wiper arm, we have a wiper arm puller tool. And this particular puller tool needs an 8 hex to be able to turn this screw, which I've got right here. And then of course, to tighten back that nut, we need that 13mm socket again on a torque wrench. The first step is you will need to wash your windshield. Just make sure that there's no dust or debris on it so that once we activate the wipers, that we don't accidentally put scratches into the windshield. Next, we're going to put the wipers into the maintenance position, which is going to be straight up. And to do so, we're going to use the MMI. First, turn on the ignition by just pushing down on the start-stop button. You do not need to push down on the brake. Once that is on, we're going to go to the car setting. Then once we're in the car setting in the MMI, you're going to go down to windshield wipers. And then service position, you're just going to toggle that to on. And once I press that, it should put it into the maintenance position. And now that it's in that position, we're going to go ahead and turn off the ignition again. Now that the wipers are in the maintenance position, we're ready to pop the hood. So once the hood is opened, it will disable the wiper motors. Notice that the cap here is missing on this wiper. We're going to be putting on a new cap for this one. And on this side, I'm going to remove this cap cover for the wiper arm. And that's going to allow us to get access to the bolt to remove the wiper for the passenger side. So I have my little pry tool here. I'm just going to get in right here in the corner and pry this up. So that now has revealed a nut underneath. What you're going to need is a 13mm socket. So we have the nut removed. So this is a wiper arm puller, which I ordered off of Amazon. I believe this is an actual tool that Audi uses to pull the wiper arms. This said it was good for an Audi S5. However, I tried to put it on the wiper arm, and this pad right here is just a little bit too thick for me to slip it on. What I'm going to do is I can remove this to give myself a little bit more clearance. So we're going to slip this over the arm, and this then is going to be tightened over the bolt, which is then going to lift up the wiper arm off the bolt. Now this particular tool uses a 8 hex in order to tighten down on this. So I'm just going to attach my ratchet to that and tighten down on it. So let's do that next. So here's the pry tool. I'm going to screw this up so that I have the most clearance available to slip the arm in. So now that it's in the topmost position, I'm going to slide this around the arm. Then I'm tightening this now onto the pin. All right, now that this is hand tight and centered on the bolt of the wiper, now I'm going to attach my hex 8 and my ratchet, and I'm going to start tightening it more. And then it should pop off the wiper like so. And I'm gonna back this off now and take the tool off. And now I'm going to just carefully push down here and then lift from this. And now we can carefully remove the arm. Next, I need to close the hood again, make sure there's nothing in the way. Now, the reason for closing this is because we need to have the wiper motors on again, and we need to now put the wipers into its parked position. Jessica, go ahead and turn on the ignition. And now push down on the wiper stalk once, and then I will have you turn off the ignition as soon as it hits the bottom position. So now make sure that the car is completely off. Open up the hood again. I'm just going to open the hood once more. And now I'm going to get my wiper blade and put it in a specific location. So here's some technical information from Audi, which basically describes the adjustment procedure for the wiper arms. And it also shows right here the positions that the wiper blade should be in. For the driver's side, that's labeled as B. For the passenger side, that's labeled as A. And it's measuring from the top of the edge of the blade to the beginning of the plastic cowling on the windshield. And so here it says that the passenger side should be 13 plus 10 millimeters. The driver's side should be 15 plus 10 millimeters. Maybe I'll just kind of zoom in here just to give you a little bit better view. So we're going to be putting the wiper blade on so that we have 13 plus 10. So we're going to have 23 millimeters between that. So this is the driver's side wiper that's still in the car. Of course, in the park position here, it looks like it's almost touching the plastic cowling. So according to the specs, I guess there could be a little bit more gapping, but I'm very happy with where this is actually positioned once the hood is closed. So I think I'm going to leave that. These measurements aren't going to be all that accurate because the wiper can actually kind of tilt one way or the other a little bit if you push it one way or the other. So if I push it this way a little bit, you can see it kind of moves up and down. So not necessarily the most accurate way to measure, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the other wiper arm on and get it to have about a 23 millimeter gap to the bottom of the cowling. So I'm ready to put the wiper arm on into the park position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the arm and then remeasure just to make sure we're kind of in the right spot, and then make sure that that's tightened down. But this is the side that the specs actually count from. All right, now I'm going to put this on very loosely. I'm just gonna start it by hand. I'm not gonna torque this down just yet. I'm just kind of loosely tightening this so that it's just on the splines so that I can get a better measurement. Alright, so I'm measuring from the top of the blade and to the cowling is about 23 millimeters, just as the spec says. So I'm going to tighten it down all the way. So the torque spec for the windshield wiper arm nut shown here at the bottom is 17 Newton meters or 12.54 foot-pounds of torque. So we're going to be tightening that to the spec. Alright, so I'm going to put these caps on. Just make sure that's on there tight, because these can come off. And if you're curious what the part number is for one of those caps, it's 5N0955205-9B9. Now I'm going to close the hood once again. And of course, once we tighten this windshield wiper to torque spec, it kind of, has a chance to move the wiper up and down. So it's good to recheck your measurements, and if it's still not in the right position, then go ahead and take the nut off again and try to reposition it. So once we tightened it, it looked like it actually raised it up a little bit, but since there's so much play in the wiper, I'm not sure if it's in its normal position. So I'm gonna have Jessica now turn on the ignition and push down on the wiper stalk so that we can get the wiper in its park position. So this is the final position that we ended up with, and it's not quite where it needs to be, but it is definitely lower than it was. It's just out of sight from the interior, so let me show you from that perspective. So here's the driver's side where it was before, and here is the passenger side. So it's still visible a little bit, but it's kind of hidden because it's inside that little black part of the windshield, so you can't really notice it, but it was sticking up above that earlier, so it's a lot better. Well, that's going to wrap up today's video. If you found the video to be helpful, please hit the thumbs up. If you want to be notified of future content, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications. As always, feel free to leave any questions in the comment section down below, and thanks for watching. Until next time.